Hello and welcome to Kirly-Sue's plant-based show with me, your host, Kirly-Sue. Today, joining me is Amanda from a wonderful vegan and vegetarian charity. So first of all, hello, Amanda.
Hi, lovely to be here.
Yes. For our listeners and viewers, please introduce yourself and tell us all about what it is that you do.
So my name's Amanda Woodvine and I'm the CEO of V for Life, and we are the only charity doing exactly what we do. So we're a UK charity and we support older vegans and vegetarians and those who cater for them. So we were founded quite some time ago now. Well, it's time's ticking by. So 2008, and I've been involved almost from the very start. I joined the charity in 2009. So seen it grow over the years, and I very much feel that there is a niche and a demand for the services that the charity provides. Often I'm asked, why does there need to be a charity specifically for older vegans and vegetarians? And absolutely, there's a lot to say on that.
Yeah.
What inspired me to get involved actually was a lady called Serena Coles, and I think people think of veganism or vegetarianism as perhaps something that people are turning to that are perhaps young. It feels like there's a lot of chat amongst younger people on social media about veganism and vegan diets. But the lady that I mentioned, Serena, was actually an early vice president of the Vegan Society. So I saw footage of her from the 1970s on BBC Two. So you can imagine the viewing figures was in prime time. So the Vegan Society had landed a slot on BBC Two just to talk about veganism for half an hour.
That's amazing considering the time.
Absolutely, and she was so articulate about her beliefs. This clip is actually available on YouTube as well, so I'm very happy to share a link. So she was saying how she had been vegan during even the war and raised her son on a vegan diet. But this is where it gets a bit sadder, because people lost contact with Serena and wondered what happened to her over the years. And in the 1990s, her friends through the Animal Rights Network made contact with her again. And at this stage, unfortunately, she was living with dementia and she'd entered a care home. And at that stage, she was eating meat and dairy again. So I think most of us think that we want to be vegan or vegetarian for the rest of our lives. You know, it's a strong set of beliefs for many people. It's the most important set of beliefs that you hold. So to lose that and lose something that's so dear to you, whether that's for health reasons or environmental reasons or animal welfare, you know, you can see how strongly that resonates with a lot of people.
Definitely, because I'm not sure what you know about Adventism, but the Seventh-day Adventist Church, it's not mandatory, but we're encouraged to be vegan or vegetarian. So a lot of Seventh-day Adventist people are vegan or vegetarian. And when they did the documentary, I think it was Channel 4 did the documentary about the Blue Zone, they were talking about the healthiest people in the world and where they live. Seventh-day Adventists are part of that. We, on average, live 10 years longer than everyone else, and it's largely due to being encouraged to have a vegan or vegetarian, basically plant-based diet. And we're a health conscious church as well, because we believe in healthy mind, healthy body, healthy spirit. So when you're talking about in later stages in life, people wanting to have vegan options if they're going into a home or something like that, we totally understand. The Seventh-day Adventist Church does have homes for the elderly. I don't think they have many in the UK, but in other countries across the globe, there are homes for the elderly, and then they would definitely have vegan and vegetarian options there without a doubt. So some of it is kind of a religious belief as well, in the reasons to be vegan and vegetarian. Obviously, I am a vegan, and I was encouraged. I wasn't brought up a vegan or vegetarian, but I became a vegetarian at 18. And then 8 years ago, I became a vegan. And a lot of that was encouraged by what the teachings of the Seventh-day Adventist Church about, you know, having healthy options and having a whole food plant-based diet. But no, that's really great. So could you tell me a bit more about the typical sort of thing that your charity does in terms of, like, not names or places, but like a kind of like a case study kind of thing?
Of course. So absolutely inspired by Serena's story, because it continues a little bit in that her early visitors who found her were wearing Vegan Society lapel badges. And Serena was still able to point and say, vegan, I'm a vegan. And that's new. So a big part of our work is protection of people's identity. So if somebody really becomes so frail that they do need support and to enter a care setting, that's very much where we can step in. So for care homes themselves, we very much try and work with care homes and grow something called our UK list. And the UK list is basically a directory of care homes in the UK, and they've pledged to cater well and ethically for older vegetarians and vegans. We're currently aiming for around 1 in 6 to be members. That's based on something that I probably won't bore you listeners with. Theory of diffusion of innovation. It's not just plucked out of the air. Very close to that figure. So it's something that people could look on our website, so vforlife.org.uk, see the mention of UK list, and hopefully already find a care home near you that is committed to that pledge. We also have something called a memory care pledge, and that's encouraging care homes to put 5 standards in place so that it's a safe place for you if you're living with dementia or any other issue that affects your capacity or cognition. So what we often hear is that, and again, this is quite distressing for many of us who think that we would love to follow that healthy veg or vegan diet for the rest of our days. We hear stories of someone that entered their care home as a vegetarian or a vegan, but the story that we hear is that that resident is now asking for meat. So very much a case of stepping back and questioning whether that is really the case. Now, you'll be really aware of how strongly you feel about your vegan diet, and you're not alone. So there's around 1/3 older vegetarians and vegans already in the UK that feel really strongly and passionately that you want to follow this diet for the rest of your life. However, there are only 2 fully vegetarian care homes in the whole of the UK at the moment.
Really?
Absolutely.
In this day and age, they can't just do
this
vegan
day and
options.
age.
I mean, oh boy. If they need someone to do some recipes for them, I could totally help them out, because to be honest, it's so easy to do, but to some people it's like, because it's different to what they usually cook, it's like deer in headlights, like what do I do now? And it's so simple. Just
absolutely cost savings that could be made too. And most people, good food is good food. It's the vegan label that again might sort of have some misconceptions around what vegan food is. If you put a vegan brownie label on something, you'd be surprised at how many people are then going to be suspicious of the vegan brownie. But if you just taste it, it's absolutely fine. It's absolutely lovely.
Absolutely. So that is amazing. And I didn't realize that care homes were kind of still in, let's say, the developing stages when it comes to, different options on their menu. And that shouldn't be the case at all. It's quite sad, really. And if anyone's listening and they're in a care home and they want to change that, feel free to reach out to myself or to Amanda, and I'm sure between the 2 of us, we'd be more than happy to help you have vegan options. I worked many years ago for a corporate organization, and they struggled with vegan options for the Christmas lunch.
Right.
So because they knew at the time I was a vegetarian, and because they knew I was a vegetarian, the director said, can you just go and speak to the catering people? So I said, okay, that's fine. So when I went to the catering people, they went, right, we really want to do something good. We know what we did last year. No one liked it, because I don't know what they did, but I wasn't actually there when they did that. But there was a ton of complaints. So they said, right, we're happy to take advice. What do you say that we do? So I said, okay, let's keep it simple. I said, let's just do sausage and mash. I said, what about if you just do some mashed potato, which I know you can do. And I said, just go and get some Linda McCartney sausages, because I know they're probably the most famous vegan or vegetarian sausages. And they went, okay. And then he said, oh, how about with an onion gravy? I said, now you're thinking. And he said, right. He said, how many vegans and vegetarians are there? I said, we identified 12. He said, right, I'm going to do 40 portions because there are some people who, even though they're not vegan or vegetarian, when they see the vegan or vegetarian option, they think, oh, that looks nice, and they'll want it as well.
Yeah.
And those options disappeared first. So good thing I said, I'm not going to be available at that time. Can you hold my portion? And he said, yeah, we held yours because we knew they would go really quickly. So that says to me, it's not something that you have to make necessarily separate for everyone, for those with that preference. You can actually do something that everybody will like and everybody can eat as well. Yeah.
Absolutely. And isn't the disappearance of food a thing? If you're at a buffet or something, you even have sandwiches that are set aside for vegans, how quickly they would just disappear. And you're sort of, if no one's actually reserved you vegan sandwiches, they do disappear often more quickly than sort of the rest of the pattern. So
yeah,
can absolutely understand why that would happen.
So did you start the charity yourself, or is it a charity that you manage? Or
I inherited the charity 1 year in. So originally I was a trustee. So I was a trustee for 3 years, and I've been with the charity as staff ever since. Mm-hmm. So it's an interesting point that you raised around sort of sausage and mash, because that really relates into this issue around people seeming to ask for meat. Should they be in care in the future and in a mixed environment? Because I think so many of us drop that vegan label when we're going to describe what we're having for dinner that night. So the reasons why someone might now seem to be asking for meat are, well, if you've offered them sausage and mash, and we're used to saying, what are you having for dinner tonight? Oh, I'm having sausage and mash, or I'm having a quiche or something. It's very much those labels haven't needed to be used in the family environment that you've been in for
absolutely
many decades of veganism or vegetarianism.
It's true, because we do have a lot of vegan food that, unless you're in a situation like you say where you have to, you would just describe it as is. You say, I'm having burgers and chips. So if you're having burgers, you're not going to say it's a vegan burger that has been made without blah, 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 and an environment with no meat, fish, eggs, dairy, blah, blah. You're not going to say that. So I can see where the confusion comes in. It's a lack of understanding, basically.
Absolutely. And again, if you think of all the decades that we've been there, perhaps reading the labels, looking for vegan and veggie symbols, if you're then in a care setting, there's often just no symbol whatsoever to, again, just memory that you're veggie, vegan, especially if, so again, the practice is that if someone is experiencing issues with capacity or cognition, you're perhaps trying to simplify the menu choices for them as well. And I have sadly heard cases where someone's then been presented with steak and kidney pie or a vegan moussaka. So you can see if you are experiencing issues with capacity and you can't quite picture what a vegan moussaka is anymore, but the other option is steak and kidney pie, and you've seen a sign on the outside of the dining room all day for steak and kidney pie, you've smelt it cooking, you've lost your more recent decades of memory, absolutely you can see why this is happening and why it's such an issue.
But if the person, so it's kind of, I think, perhaps slightly lazy as well, saying, oh, well, they asked for it, so that's fine, not kind of bearing in mind their current medical situation and what their choice is supposed to be. But one thing I wanted to ask is, since being involved and heading up this charity, what has anything that's happened that you would say was totally unexpected as part of your experience of running this charity?
Oh, unexpected for the good or unexpected for the bad?
Good, bad, indifferent, anything you want to say.
I would say, so with the caveat that I'm in my 19th year now as a vegan.
Oh, wow.
And especially, I think, over the past 5 years and seeing the absolute growth of vegan products and so on, in the past 5 years, we've seen wholesalers providing the care sector, providing fully vegan brochures, and I couldn't have imagined that ever happening. So we talked earlier about kind of why care homes might not quite be up to speed or the same sort of quality or number, and some are doing very, very well. I will absolutely say that, and I'm happy to come back to that. But very much a care home environment, as I see it, would be among the last to change. It's very much sort of feels behind closed doors compared with walking down the high street these days. You can see so many vegan options, and often a board outside again, which I would never have expected to happen all those years ago. Like vegan options here, vegan options here, vegan options here. But care home menus, again, generally aren't really visible to the public. So they're going to be the last things to change. So when I've just seen, as I say, in the last 5 years or so, that not only are there fully vegan catalogues for wholesalers providing the care sector, that was really, really unexpected.
Yeah.
Also launched awards probably 5 or 6 years ago now. It's the Vegetarian for Life Awards for Excellence in Vegetarian and Vegan Care Catering. So they've now transitioned to being held in Parliament in normal times when it's not a pandemic, and to be able to award not just one Care Chef of the Year, but now categories for Wholesaler of the Year, Care Chef, Most Innovative Veggie Vegan Dish. Was really unexpected when starting the charity.
All right. Now that's really good, and it's something that you probably wouldn't even think of, because I've never thought about if someone's in a care. I just thought, well, if you're going in a care home, it's something you pay for, so they would, have the relevant options that you should have. But obviously, that's not how it is. Which is, it's a blessing that your charity exists to help speak for those who can't no longer necessarily speak up for themselves. Okay, so what would you say is a common myth? I mean, as a vegan, I know, but what would you say is a common vegan myth that you come across?
Probably still the protein one about, as a vegan, where to get your protein. Also, I think another one is, can you eat carbs? Because I think
I've not heard that one before.
As a vegan, and you sort of just get a salad, because people think, oh, can she eat bread? Can she have any dressing on that salad? I'm a bit wary. I've heard the difference between a vegetarian and a vegan as your vegetarian eats fish, which isn't even true. A vegetarian who eats fish is obviously a pescatarian.
I know why that myth has come about, because there are people who eat fish who call themselves vegetarian. If you're listening or watching this and you're one of those people, please can you stop doing that? Because you're not. You're a pescatarian, you're not vegetarian. Maybe you want to be a vegetarian, and that's fine, but don't eat fish and call yourself a vegetarian. You're not. But there's also confusion, because there's some people who call themselves vegan and they're not. So a friend of mine, he said, oh, my sister's a vegan just like you. I said, oh yeah, that's great. Yeah, she only has a little bit of meat now and again, I think maybe once a week, but apart from that, she's vegan. I said, okay, your sister's not vegan, He went, isn't she? I said, no. I said, that's like me saying I'm a little bit pregnant. Either I am pregnant or I'm not. You can't sort of be. I've never heard of somebody being half pregnant or quarter pregnant. It's the same with veganism. Either you are or you're not. So that leads kind of to the confusion of these people saying, yeah, I'm a vegan and I have chicken on Wednesdays and fish on Fridays. But apart from that, I'm vegan. I think, well, no, you're not. You have vegan days out of the week, but overall, no, you're not. But I've heard many, many different myths. The one thing about veganism that people are usually surprised about quite a lot is that vegans don't eat honey.
Yes.
So a lot of people are saying that. I don't get it. I said, well, honey comes from a bee. Nothing with a face or parents. Bees have a face. Bees have parents. There you go. Oh wow. They never think of that one, which is okay. That's fine if you haven't thought of it. But that I like to kind of discuss these things in these shows, because it's a learning experience. Because I understand that people don't know, but it's about learning and growing and finding out more about what it is that you do. So if you could kind of make an announcement to the world about vegan and vegetarian people in care homes, and you just needed to tell them one or two things, what would you like to say if you had the platform and they're all sitting listening thinking, right, okay, what does Amanda want to tell us?
Okay, the thing that would make it so much easier for your vegan or vegetarian values to be respected in future, and I know no one likes to do this is like if I started talking about the importance of making a will. I think the the analogy is that you feel like if you start writing a will or thinking about the future or planning for your future care, something is going to happen to you. I hear that so often. I made a will in my early 20s and, you know, touch wood, I'm still here, it's okay. It's to think about your future care. So we've actually produced a Self-Advocacy Pack, and it's completely free to download, but it contains template wording. So there is some sample wording in it on page 8. So this is basically a free download. It's from vforlife.org.uk for those that have the internet, which is probably going to be all of our listeners. So it does say that if you're experiencing issues with capacity or cognition and appear to be asking for meat, or you've accidentally made a meat-based choice, then you simply want to receive an alternative dish that perhaps looks similar to what you've asked for, but it uses fortification if you need it. So simply by putting that in writing, it's something that your carers have to read, and it shows that you've really thought through this issue, and that it's not just sort of a health fad or something like that. Your diet is really important to you as one of your values. So if you've actually just written that down, and as I say, we've got template wording for people, we've got a template place for people to put that wording on paper, that is essentially most of the battle won for you. And it would be so easy for people to do, but unfortunately most people think, oh, I don't need to do it today, I'm absolutely fine. But it is something that you can just write down, send a copy to your GP, it's done. If you change your mind about any aspect of it, because there might be other things that are important to you in the future, you can just send a fresh copy off to your GP. And, you know, it's about having those conversations with people that might be involved in your future care while you still can.
Yeah. And if I was standing next to you on that platform, I would kind of reiterate the point, and I'd say, look, vegan options is not new. It's not expensive. It's just something a bit different to what you're used to. So just put the vegan options on the menu. It's not a big ask. And you can save money for the care home as well because it's cheaper. So that's what I would say. Right. Yeah. So I have a few fun questions for you now. So say if you got a book deal tomorrow and you could write a book about anything you want to, what would you want to write about?
Ooh, again, probably just around later life planning, because it's been such a cornerstone of my career. I actually worked in wills and probate, hence the reference to wills.
Oh, okay.
I think just sharing all of the case studies that we've come across. And although I say we do work in the main in the care sector, there's obviously the many decades leading up to later life. So perhaps many people live the rest of their life completely fine without any frailty whatsoever. So it's not inevitable at all. And as sort of blue zone studies have shown, you know, a lot of people are doing really well. But we do have a lot of other services that, again, I'd love to draw people's attention to. So often we have calls from people that feel like they're the only vegan or vegetarian that they now know. That might be because they're living somewhere that's quite rural, or their friends and family have now passed away. So we do offer various services to try and connect people. So I was just having so many calls throughout the day, as in somebody feels really isolated and thought, you'd actually get on with the person that called me about an hour ago. So we had to set up a fully veggie and vegan pen and phone pal scheme. So that's really taken off. It's really simple to join and it's free at the moment. So you just need to fill in an application form. Again, you could find how to join the scheme on vforlife.org.uk. And you just simply add a bit about yourself, a few lines about your hobbies and interests, and whether you'd prefer to have pen pals or phone pals or perhaps both. And then literally we send out a new listing 4 times a year. And then it's up to other people to get in touch and to share contact details. We also have an online, and this has cropped up only during the pandemic as a way of connecting people, an online vegan lunch club. And that's on the 4th Tuesday of every month. So you can either cook what we have put on the menu for that week, obviously in your own kitchen at home, and join on Zoom all together to share what you've made and to discuss it. Or if you're not quite feeling up to cooking that day, you'd rather just join us with a cup of tea and a biscuit. All are really
nice. Oh, that's really lovely. So I know you've said your website a few times, so where can people find you online?
Absolutely. vforlife.org.uk, as you say, is the website. We're on Twitter as VFL_UK, and we're on Facebook as VFL UK. So please do join. Also offer grants to help people with independent living. So you can get up to £3,000 for something that helps you to stay in your own home for longer, which at the end of the day is what we all want. So by all means do investigate more about that funding, and we'd love to receive an application from you.
That is brilliant. So thank you so much. It's been really lovely to hear about this wonderful charity and what you do. And yes, obviously, if anyone's interested or wants to donate and so forth, they can reach out to you at the addresses and the social media and website that you just mentioned. But thank you so much. We've come to the end of our time with you today, but thank you so much. It's been wonderful, and speak to you again soon.
Oh, it's lovely. Great to chat. Bye-bye now.
Bye.